This is Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details. Here are your hosts, Joe, Matt, and Chris.
Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL after that Eagles Super Bowl domination of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm going to show you why Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And listen, that statement might make you cringe. It might say you, oh, this guy's a dumbass, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what you feel, ladies and gentlemen. All that matters is the facts. The facts are what matters. And if we're being fair to Jalen Hurts, if we're being fair to every single quarterback in the history of the NFL, Jalen Hurts has to be a top 5 quarterback. And I'll get to where he is in that specific top 5 later. And we'll talk about it. But listen, okay, that brings me to my main thing. And I was going to do some little like precursor stats, but I decided to hold those off for now. I just want to get straight into it, okay? We're doing one of my favorite things in sports right now, okay, ladies and gentlemen. And what we're doing is a blind reveal, a good old-fashioned blind reveal. And Sammy and Joe, you can check your Discords. I just sent all the slides in the chat. Okay, I literally went high school on them. I did a PowerPoint presentation, and I screenshotted the slides, and I just sent them to Sammy and Joe. And you guys, the viewers, are going to see in post-production. They're going to be overlaid when we get into it. But listen, some notes about this blind reveal. It's 2 quarterbacks, obviously, and their current NFL QBs. Both came out in the same draft class, and they're both, and I'm throwing out both of their rookie years because one of them was on the bench, second-string quarterback for their rookie years, and one of them was hurt for one of their rookie years. So I'm throwing out their rookie years. So this is for the last 4 seasons of their careers, and I made slides for their regular season stats, their playoff stats, their Super Bowl and championship game stats, and their accomplishments as well. And I will get into why I made slides for each of those as well. But the first one we got to get into, ladies and gentlemen, is the regular season stats. And when you look at their regular season stats, player A obviously has started a few more games and has a better team record. So I put the games in just for durability purposes. So he's started 3 more games. It's not that big of a concern. And then the team record, obviously player A has been a part of better teams. He's got a 0.1 better win percentage as far as that goes. He's significantly better. He's got less losses and more games started than player B. But the big advantage player B has in the regular season, he's a far better passer. You look at yards per game, touchdowns. He's got a few more interceptions, but that's to be expected when you throw the ball more. Completion percentage is better, yards per attempt, and quarterback rating, all far better for player B than player A. And then where player A has the advantage, he's a far better rusher. You look at his rushing yards, way more. Look at his rushing touchdowns, way better than player B. So player B is the better passer by far. Player A is the better rusher by far. And then you look at the totals as well. I put all the total yards down there at the bottom. And as far as totals go, the player A has more total yards and total touchdowns, but the total touchdowns are pretty close, and the total turnovers are pretty close as well. So when you look at player A and player B, again, they kind of have different ways of getting about it, but they produce a similar amount of touchdowns and they produce a similar amount of turnovers as well. So, but if you were having me just choose, I'm not going off team record, just like choose which of these quarterbacks by blind reveal on the regular season side of things, I'd probably choose player B just because he's a better passer, and today's such a passing league that I would probably choose player B. But again, those are just regular season stats, ladies and gentlemen. We do not win Super Bowls in the regular season. Let's go to the playoff stats, okay? And when you look at the playoff stats for player A, again, he's only started 1 more game, and he's got a better team record, but player B has been great in the playoffs as well. 5-2 playoff record for player B. And again, player B has the advantage in passing yards as well, but this is where in the playoffs, player A starts to take advantage, okay? He's got more touchdown passes, and he's got less interceptions and less games started than player B. Player B still has the advantage in completion percentage and yards per attempt, but player A has him. Quarterback rating obviously still has him in the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns. Player B still got him on the total yards per game, but player A doubles him up in total touchdowns and has the same amount of total turnovers in the playoffs as well. So again, if you look at these 2 graphics, I'm choosing player A in the playoffs 10 times out of 10. It is not even close as far as the playoffs go. And by the way, if you guys are looking at this, I don't want Sammy and Joe to spoil it if you guys have already realized who it is, okay? I don't want you guys to spoil it. But
I know exactly who this is. Yeah,
you can kind of tell just by the silhouettes who one of these guys is. So don't blow it
terrible.
right now. Don't blow.
I'm not going to.
Don't wait. But listen, okay. as far as and next one we'll get to, we got to get to these Super Bowl and conference championship game stats. Now, why I chose to put these in here as well is because, again, what are the two biggest games you're going to play as an NFL player? It's going to be the Super Bowl and it's going to be the conference championship game. And also, either of these players had only been into a combined 3 Super Bowls between them, so that wasn't a big enough sample size. Even the amount of sample size that's in here, 4 games for player A, 3 games for player B, not a big sample size, but still, it shows you how these two quarterbacks perform when the stage gets the biggest. And I'll tell you right now, it is a landslide for player A. He's obviously started one more game. His team wins in these biggest games. He is 3-1 in these biggest games. Player B is 1-2. Player B still has the advantage in passing yards, but it's almost everything else. Player A has the advantage. They have the same amount of passing touchdowns, but player A takes better care of the football, less picks, better completion percentage, more yards per attempt, better quarterback rating, more rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Player B still has a slight advantage in total yards per game, but player A triples player B. 12-4. He triples him in total touchdowns, and player B triples player A in total turnovers, 3-1 with total turnovers. So to me, it's not even close. When the stage gets the biggest and the lights get the brightest, I am choosing player A over player B 10 times out of 10 when that comes when the biggest stages happen. I'm choosing player A. Now, let's go to the accomplishments, okay? We're going over to the accomplishment slide. When you move to the accomplishment slide, player A, 4 playoff appearances to 2 for player B. Again, you see the Super Bowl appearances, 2-1, one-time Super Bowl champion, one-time Super Bowl MVP. They have the same amount of Pro Bowls. And player B is a 2-time comeback player of the year, which obviously player A doesn't have any of. And player B also has 2 top 5 MVP finishes. Player A only has 1. So again, you look at those, and again, which quarterback would I rather have? Which quarterback to me is better just looking at those? Again, I know player B has 1 more top 5 MVP finish, but to me, I'm going with player A as far as that goes. And now, pardon me, I'm going to send the reveal in the chat. I'm sure these guys have already figured it out.
This is not a reveal, man. This is not even
confirming our thoughts.
This is terrible.
For who this is
terrible.
But we'll scroll over to it, obviously, in post-production here. It's Jalen Hurts as player A. Obviously, it wouldn't have fit if anybody other than Jalen Hurts was player A. Like, he has to be Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to put Kenny Pickett in a graphic that I'm trying to make a case for Jalen Hurts. And player B is Joey B, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Burrow. Again, player A and Jalen Hurts is someone who we have consistently ridiculed, consistently said he's not good enough. He can't throw the football, right? He's not top 5. And player B is someone who we have consistently put in the top 5 every single year when we're talking about quarterbacks. So to me, Jalen Hurts, if you look at anything, okay, Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. The numbers say so. The results say so. His impact on the team says so. With that being said, my top 5 list after this season, Patrick Mahomes 1. He's still number 1, regardless of that Super Bowl debacle that we will talk about later. Josh Allen is 2. I'm putting Josh Allen as my 2nd best quarterback in football. Lamar Jackson is 3. He's my 3rd best quarterback in football. And whether you like it or not, Jalen Hurts is the 4th best quarterback in football. He's 1 spot ahead of Joe Burrow, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Burrow is 5. Jaden Daniels, I would have considered Jaden Daniels in there. I want to see 1 more year out of Jaden Daniels. We saw CJ Stroud have a really great rookie year and then kind of falter in his 2nd year. So I want to see 1 more year out of Jaden Daniels. If Jaden Daniels does what he did last year again, he's probably going to be in that top 5 as well. But again, we've seen Jalen Hurts do this over and over and over again. And again, we have to put him in the top 5 based on everything that we've seen in the NFL so far. Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback. But there was my spiel. I've said almost everything I have to say. I have some more to say, but I'll let these guys say some things now because I've been rambling on here for a little while. But Sammy, I'm going to you, my friend. This man has been an absolute Jalen Hurts critic, ladies and gentlemen. He has not been on the Jalen Hurts train. I am going to Sammy right now. Do you agree? Is Jalen Hurts a top 5 quarterback?
First of all, I want to give my flowers to Jalen Hurts first because when I was researching for this video, the plan was to just give Hurts his flowers. But apparently we're going a completely different direction. I am not prepared for this. Of course I'm not prepared for this, but it's okay. It's fine. I'm going to give him his flowers first before I push back a bit because I'm going to push back. Okay. First of all, Jalen Hurts, the narrative with Jalen Hurts all year long was that he couldn't read the field. And in the 2 biggest games of his career, essentially, he read the field at a very high level. So I want to give him flowers there. Against a 4-man rush, he was 15 of 17, 185 yards and 2 touchdowns. In dropbacks over 2.5 seconds, 11 of 14, 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then with air yards, 10 plus air yards, he was 5 of 7, 137 yards, a touchdown and an interception. All those stats in that Super Bowl. He's the only player now in NFL history with 10 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns in his playoff career. Now, that, in my opinion, is the most impressive stat. And I'll tell you why. In a league full of Lamar Jacksons, in a league with now Jaden Daniels is going to start rising, right? And Jaden Daniels, of course, it's his rookie year. So, honestly, we never know. The Josh Allens of the world. Somehow, some way, Jalen Hurts is the only player in NFL history with 10 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns. That is incredible. Jalen Hurts proved me wrong this past Super Bowl. Is he a top 5 QB because of it? I don't know. I don't want to just put 2 performances and say that is who he is, because like it or not, I think throughout the entire regular season, there was good reason to say Jalen Hurts wasn't necessarily pulling his weight. Now, he was playing okay. He wasn't playing MVP level. That was Saquon Barkley. Now, Jalen Hurts did his job. He didn't do anything special throughout the regular season. He didn't really need to do anything special throughout the regular season, given the fact that he has an elite offensive line, an elite running back, an elite wide receiving core. So Jalen Hurts, in terms of top 5, I'm hesitant to just throw him in there because this entire time I thought he was outside, just barely outside the top 10. I think he's firmly inside the top 10 after what he just did. I think firmly in there. I don't think there's any question. Is he better than Joe Burrow? No, he's not. And it's not necessarily because, and I see your statistics, Matt, and this is actually very impressive that you gathered all these statistics. And
just wait.
Let me tell you, man.
I did that all by myself, by the way.
Yeah.
Good boy. Good face, huh?
You know what, man? I will give you your flowers there. But I feel like all these stats, like you got to take into consideration what Joe Burrow's obstacles have to be and what Jalen Hurts' obstacles have to be. So Jalen Hurts is in a NFC conference where he doesn't have to deal with the likes of elite NFL QBs like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or the Josh Allens of the world. He doesn't have to deal with that. He doesn't have to deal with the fact that his offensive line has been inept since the Super Bowl that Joe Burrow surprisingly went to, where he surprised everybody. And although I think his Super Bowl run was a little overrated, because I think the defense did a lot there that nobody really talks about. Everybody loves talking about Joe Burrow. I'm objective, ladies and gentlemen. I don't just glaze people just to glaze people, okay? I am very objective here. All right. Maybe I do glaze a little bit. Look, the bottom line is this. I think that Joe Burrow just does things better than Jalen Hurts. I really do. I think he sees the field better. I think he has a better arm. I think in terms of rushing, I feel like in terms of when to use your legs, I think Jalen Hurts does that better than anybody. But there are certain things like, I hate doing is I hate saying, what if this QB was in this position, then that, I hate doing that, but I'm going to do it here. And the reason I'm going to do it here is because it's true. Look, the Bengals offensive line, Joe, you know it. Matt, you know it. It was not good. It was not good whatsoever. And then this year, not only was the offensive line not good, the defense was god awful. And look, I want to give Hurts his flowers. I don't want to sit here and just like completely bash on Hurts. I don't want to bash on the Bengals defense and O-line because it doesn't matter. They were never in contention anyway. But Jalen Hurts throughout the entire season was essentially leaning on the run game. They weren't really leaning on his arm, and they didn't want to lean on his arm. His arm ended up winning the game in the Super Bowl. Partially won the game against the Commanders. I think Saquon had a big game in that one as well. The Chiefs sold their soul to stop the run. And because of that, Jalen Hurts, who I think they were really daring Jalen Hurts, hey, read this defense because we don't think you can. And Jalen Hurts in the biggest game of his career was able to do that. And I will give him his flowers there. I'm not going to put him top 5. I think he's somewhere in the top 10. It's very difficult though. I think you have a great case for Jalen Hurts being in the top 5 simply because of what he has accomplished. But I feel like if you watched him play throughout the regular season, you could not have told me he's a top 5 quarterback. Nobody could have. If anything, I would have been said like, oh, well, he gets the job done. I mean, fringe top 10. I'd say he's top 10. I think everybody was collectively agree that he was either just inside or just outside your top 10 QBs for the majority of the season. And I'm still going to stand on that. I'm still going to stand on the latter. I think he's inside that top 10 and that it's his spot until further notice after what he has accomplished.
See, I agree with a lot of what you said. If you just watched Jalen Hurts during the regular season, you wouldn't think that he's a top 5 quarterback, right? No. Just again, like I said in my spiel, I just want to treat him fairly. Okay, we watched Patrick Mahomes the entire regular season. He didn't look like a top 10 quarterback, but his team was winning, and he was doing what it takes to win the football game, right? It seems like whenever Jalen Hurts is asked to truly have a downfield passing game, he comes through. Again, we've seen him come through whenever the stakes are the biggest and whenever he's asked to really do it. He was asked to do it a little bit against Washington. He was asked to do it that first Super Bowl against Kansas City. He was asked to do it this Super Bowl against Kansas City. And again, he's come through 3 times now. So
there's a difference though. There's a big difference though. I feel like the difference is, and I hate to
bring it here. I think this for all of us. Just bring it here.
I want to go to you just now. The difference is simple. Like the offense without Patrick Mahomes is nothing. It's nothing. It's dead in the water. And of course, like during the Super Bowl, the Eagles defense, and we'll talk about the Eagles defense in a second in the next video, like it was just swarming. And you saw when Patrick Mahomes was neutralized, it's over. It's done. Now, throughout the entire regular season, you could neutralize the passing game. They didn't have a good the Eagles didn't have a good passing game at all this entire regular season.
I agree.
And they were fine. They still won 13 games. They still were able to dominate most games. And it was mostly because I feel like there's a difference there. It's not just, you can't just say, oh, Patrick Mahomes, it can't be like, it's a little different. There's a little bit of nuance there.
Again, the Chiefs didn't have a good passing game all year, and they won 15 games. Yeah,
so it's like without Patrick Mahomes, there's no run game to fall back on.
Before Patrick Mahomes, they were 11-5 or whatever with Alex Smith. So like Andy Reid has proven that he can have success.
7 years ago.
Whenever we've seen Patrick Mahomes not in the lineup, they've had success. So that
was a long time ago, Matt.
Again, but whenever Mahomes has been hurt or whenever he's sat or whatever the case may be, the backups come in and had some level of success.
With Tyreek Hill, yeah. With Tyreek Hill, you could do that. With Travis Kelce,
with anybody who's been on the field.
I don't think
exactly. So. Again, that's who's on the field when Mahomes is out there too. So it's like it cuts both ways. Right. But Joe's itching to go over there, so I got to kick it to Joe. What do you think about this whole Jalen Hurts top 5 discussion?
He's definitely a top 5 quarterback. Okay, and I'll tell you this: he might be in the conversation for the best dual threat quarterback in the NFL in his first 5 years. And I got the numbers here. The other 2 dual threat quarterbacks we always put at the top: Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Okay, let's look at the passing yards over 5 years, because I didn't get rid of their rookie years, because you know what? Fuck that. 5 years in the league, let's see what they got. 14,667 yards. That's Jalen Hurts. Jackson's first 5 years, 12,209 passing yards. Allen, 18,397. Passing TDs: Hurts, 85. Jackson, 101. Allen, 138. Oh, Hurts is starting to trail a little bit, but let's get to the rushing yards, my friends. Hurts, 3,133. Jackson, 4,437. So their rushing and passing yards equal, look at that, about the same. Josh Allen, 3,087 yards. So Hurts has more rushing yards in his first 5 years, which is all he's been in the NFL, than both of the 2 best dual threat quarterbacks in the league. Let's look at rushing TDs. Hurts, 55 in his first 5 years. 4 consecutive years of double-digit TD runs. You know how many Lamar Jackson's had double-digit TD runs? None. He's never had double-digit rushing TDs in a season. Josh Allen, his first 5 years, none. Didn't have it until 6 and 7. He's only got 38. Jackson's got 24. So he doubles Hurts. All right? So touchdowns total is 140 for Hurts, 125 for Jackson, and Allen is at 172. Okay, let's get into the INTs. First 5 seasons: Hurts, 39. Jackson, 38. Allen, 60. 260. That's a 6-0. Okay, let's get into fumbles lost. Hurts, 9. Jackson, 9. Allen, 11. Fumbles lost. So Josh Allen sure has more yards. He turned the ball over 71 times in his first 5 years. Jalen Hurts, 48. That's it. First 5 years. That's averaging less than 10 turnovers a season. That's less than 1 a game. Whereas Josh Allen is, in his first 5 years, that's a lot. Total fumbles, Hurts, 25. Jackson, 31. Allen, 29. Here's my favorite one. Who do you guys think has more rushing first downs in the first 5 seasons? Don't worry, I'll tell you. Hurts, 277. Jackson, 266. Allen, 228.
We all know why that is. We all know why that stat is. Okay, Joe. We know.
Go ahead.
But
Tell
why
me
can't anybody else do it is my
question.
Why
Is Josh Allen
getting the same
tush push? Josh Allen gets the same tush push, and he's 50 less.
Yo, there is a
50 less in his
clear
first 5 years.
distinction. I hate to interrupt. There is a clear distinction. We've known this for years now.
Okay.
A clear distinction with the Eagles' offensive line and the Bills' offensive line.
The Bills have a great offensive line this year.
It's
and
not.
They couldn't
It's
get a
not.
tush push against
We
Kansas
all.
City.
We all know. We all know. Okay, look. First of all, it's a solid offensive line. However, if we're comparing it to the Eagles, which is the best in football and has been the best in football, right up there with the Lions for like 5 years now, for a very long time now, there's really no comparison. But I understand your point, Joe. I don't want to keep interrupting. Go ahead.
Here's another one. Okay, Super Bowl appearances. Well, hell, this is versus Mahomes. We'll just go to the versus Mahomes thing. Hurts is 1-1 and outplayed Mahomes in both of the matchups. Lamar Jackson, 0-1. Josh Allen, he's 0-4. So when they go to face Mahomes, Jalen Hurts plays better. They are in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts plays better. Jalen Hurts is easily a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he does what his team asks him to do. Win football games. And when they say, hey, things aren't going the way we thought, we need you to do what a quarterback does in the NFL and lead this team and throw bombs, that's what he does. Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback and is in the argument with multiple MVP candidates of having similar style of seasons in his first 5 seasons, and has been in the conversation for an MVP one time. So, just go on a limb here.
I get what you're saying, Joe, but I just think, like, and again, this is not an argument I like using at all, and I don't want to like piss.
You know what that argument is, Sammy? That's
Hurts.
a fucking excuse, buddy.
It's not an excuse. It's a legit. It's not an excuse.
You're coming up with reasons.
This
trying to make it work. It's an excuse. Philly fans, this man's a hater. He's a hater.
You see what's going on here, chat? Like, what? Look, you see, look. It's not me being a hater. It's me like assessing situations and realizing who constructed their roster perfectly around a top 10 fringe top 10 QB in the league, and who said they didn't really construct it as well as they could have, but because the QB is so great, they elevate that team to a higher standard. This is not, again, this is
no Patrick Mahomes' first playoff and Super Bowl success is purely because of the GM and the things around him then? Is that what we're going to say?
No.
It's falling apart now, isn't it, buddy?
No, it's not. It's not. Look, the success of the Eagles has everything to do with them building the offensive line, them building the perfect pass rush. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is the last reason, but he is not the ultimate reason. They have constructed.
I agree with that.
They have constructed elite squads, an elite squad to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens have yet to do that. The Bills have yet to do that. The only reason why they're even battling it out with Mahomes. The only reason they're battling it out with Mahomes. Look, I don't want to act like a teacher and say, yes, Matt. No, I'm not going to do that. Give me 1 second. Look, it's just like the reason I almost lost my train of thought, but I got it right now. The reason we talk about these QBs like Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen right next to Mahomes is because they can go toe-to-toe against a Patrick Mahomes, but situationally and ultimately it comes up with coaching. I'm not saying Hurts doesn't either. Hurts does. We've seen it. I've seen it with my 2 eyes. Yeah, we have. But the difference is Hurts has the offensive line. Hurts has the coaching. Hurts has the defense. Lamar Jackson, he had the defense one time. He didn't have the coaching. Josh Allen never had the defense. He never did. Sean McDermott's a great coach. He is. Against Patrick Mahomes, I don't know what it is, but no matter what kind of offense the Chiefs are running, the Bills look like Swiss cheese. So ultimately, there's a difference. There's a very significant difference. Go ahead, Matt.
Again, this is where I just want to be fair. Again, you were talking about all the other things that Jalen Hurts has. I agree. The offensive line is the best in football. Saquon Barkley, probably the best running back in football. One of the best wide receiver duos in football, as far as AJ Brown and Devontae Smith go. But what did Patrick Mahomes have when he was winning most of his Super Bowls? Did he not have Travis Kelce? Did he not have Tyreek Hill? Did he not have Andy Reid? Did he not have a good offensive line? Did he not have it?
With Tyreek Hill.
But again, who did we give the credit to is my problem. Like, we gave all the credit to Patrick Mahomes when he had all of this stuff surrounding him, So it's like, we have to give a certain amount of quarterback. Again, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in football. I think there's 3 quarterbacks better than him. But to not give any credit to the guy who has single-handedly, and again, this is going to be the fourth straight year that Jalen Hurts is going to have a different offensive coordinator. He's had a different offensive coordinator in every single year, and he's had success. And again, we've seen Jalen Hurts also have success when the defense wasn't good. Like, we're talking about Joe Burrow. How could Joe Burrow have possibly overcome this defense that was 25th in points, 25th in yards this year? No quarterback could overcome that. He went 9-8 and missed the playoffs. What if I told you that last year, Jalen Hurts in 2023 overcame an Eagles defense that was worse than the Bengals defense was last year, 30th in points, 26th in yards, and they went 11-6 and they made the playoffs. Now, they lost in a wild card round, but still, Jalen Hurts hasn't been dealing with perfect situations all the time. Like, he's had the ability to overcome bad situations and still get that team to the playoffs, overcome different offensive coordinators, still get that team to the playoffs, regardless of what's surrounding him. So we have to give him a certain amount of credit that I think top 5 is easily justified for Jalen Hurts. Like, there's no doubt about it.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.